Who was this poor Jewish man? We'll never know. His Lithuanian murderers didn't just rob him of his life, they also took his name and his voice. This film will be his voice. Lithuania, a land of Jewish bones. Torture, rape, mass murder, everywhere. Stories so terrible they can barely be told. These are the Jews of Plunga, or Plungyan in Yiddish. In June 1941, these people were driven from their homes and imprisoned in the main synagogue in the town center. Over 1,300 people were incarcerated here for almost 3 weeks in the summer heat. No food, drink, or care of any kind was offered. Many people died of thirst, hunger, suicide. Inside, bodies decomposed, people went insane, and their torment only ended when on July the 15th, the survivors were dragged out in groups to a nearby forest and butchered. Babies and young children were frequently buried alive or had their skulls smashed with clubs or against trees to save bullets, a practice common throughout Lithuania. This was the man in charge, a Lithuanian nationalist called Jonas Noreika. This is where he lived during the slaughter, in a stolen Jewish house right opposite the dying synagogue. This is the booklet he wrote, Lithuania's own Little Mein Kampf, demanding the elimination of the country's Jews. These are his signed orders for the imprisonment and deportation of the Jews. This is the man who murdered perhaps 14,500 Jews, who led an empire of robbery, humiliation, torture, rape, especially pedophile rape, and cruelty almost beyond human imagination, and today he is a public hero in Lithuania. What would this Jew at the side of the pit say? He would say that this is unacceptable, an insult to the Jewish people and the victims of the slaughter, and he would say the world, Jewish and not Jewish, has a duty to respond to this enduring, wholly unnecessary and dehumanizing insult. We are going to respond with the truth about Jonas Noreika, the truth about the depravity of the killings and the overwhelming voluntary participation of thousands and thousands of Lithuanians, and the truth about Lithuania's government, the world leaders in manufacturing Holocaust lies and defending Holocaust mass murderers. Fortunately, there are good people telling the truth. There is Grant Goshen, whose family was murdered in Lithuania and who has been bravely fighting the Lithuanian government for years. And there is Sylvia Foti, an extraordinary woman whose story we are privileged to tell because Sylvia Foti is the granddaughter of Jonas Noreika, the man who slaughtered Grant Goshen's family.
The level of cruelty is depraved. Essentially the darkest, most sadistic side of humanity possible. And for me to be part of that, at least by heritage and blood, is so painful. I want to disassociate myself from it. And the only way to overcome it for any Lithuanian is to accept this truth and finally come out with it and face it. That is the only way to cleanse.
How should Jews react to all of this? Here you've got a perpetrator nation telling us that their national heroes are the people that murdered our families. Where is our humanity? Where is our dignity? Where is our self-respect? For Lithuania to come look me in the face and say, we love you, but our biggest national hero is the murder of your family, it's an insult. It goes to the core of our being. Either we have self-respect and we tell them we will not accept these deceptions, or we sell our families and say it's of no consequence. It is of consequence.
Our doomed Jew has one final question. Does the Holocaust matter anymore? Every year the world says it does. Frau Merkel says so, Monsieur Macron says so, NATO says so, the EU says so often. But if Lithuania can hero worship mass-murdering Jew haters and lie about their guilt in a most sinister and overt way, then how can the free world win the war against ethnic, racial, religious, and anti-Semitic hatred?
This is the truth, and it has to come out. What Lithuanians did to the Jews has to be faced by Lithuanians themselves. And my hope is Lithuania is not the only country in this position. There are other Eastern European countries just like this. Maybe Lithuania could be the leader in this, to do it, the way Germany was the leader all those years ago. But in this round of coming to terms with it, Lithuania should be the leader.
The brutality of the killings and how pervasive they are demands a response. They demand truth-telling, because this level of cruelty can never be repeated in the world. If we do not identify this and call it out as inhuman, it will happen again.